people watching. I don't know if y'all love people watching, but for me, it's very intriguing to go and like watch people. I'm just intrigued at anything that has to do with people. Like, I could sit and just people watch forever. If you've ever gone to eat with me, this is something, if you haven't gone to eat with me and we go eat soon, this is probably a question I'm going to ask you. How do you eat? Now, that is a question that you probably think that's a weird question, Luke. But I'm going to be honest. You'll all have an answer. And let me tell you why? Because I'm about to ask you 3 questions, and you're going to, off the top of your head, know exactly the answer. Are you ready? You're going to turn to the person beside you. And I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to answer to the person beside you what the answer is to that question. You ready? When I say, how do you eat? And we're going to imagine I've got hamburger, french fries, a dessert. The hamburger has cheese and bacon, double meat, okay? And a drink of your choice. Okay? So, here we go. When I say, how do you eat? The first question is, remember, you're turning to your neighbor and asking, do you eat one thing at a time, or do you rotate what you eat? Rotate. See, everybody had an answer. Everybody had an answer. Okay, here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. If the dessert is on the table, do you eat it first or last? First. Okay, here's the last question. Your drink. Do you drink while you eat, or do you save your drink until the very last? Who are the people that save their drink till last? Who are the people that save their drink? They don't take one drink their entire meal. That's my wife. My wife will not take a single drink her entire time she's eating until she's completely done with her entire meal. I don't know. She says it fills her stomach, and she wants to have as much stomach as she can for her food. That's her reason. I know. See, the funny thing is we all had answers to that question. It wasn't as weird of a question once I gave you a chance to answer it, because at the end of the day, we all had an answer. We all had an answer to that question. One other thing that I actually, it just becomes a habit of mine that I do, is I don't know if y'all ever got in these awkward situations where you're walking somewhere and somebody's walking towards you, and you accidentally make eye contact, and they're like, oh, now I gotta say something. Like, what am I gonna say? Yeah, how's it going? And they're like, good. How's it going with you? Good. It's like this just response that we say anytime we get in these really awkward situations that we don't know what to say. It's like, hey, what's up? Nothing. What's up to you? Nothing. Don't even know the person, but you're just like saying, how's it going? I always thought, in one of those moments, I wonder what would happen if I actually answered the question really how I was doing in that moment. Like somebody I didn't know was kind of like walking to me, and I just got like done with a really terrible conversation, or I was really frustrated about something. And like, they walked up, made that awkward eye contact, we were like, do we say anything? And he says, how you doing? Terrible. I'm doing terrible. You want to know why I'm doing terrible? Because I had a terrible conversation with somebody, and it pissed me off, and I don't know what to do. And it's like you just like go off on that person. It's right to freak out, right? Or maybe you were excited. Like you're like, how's it going? I'm freaking pumped. Let me tell you what happened to me today. And then you just go into this long story. You see, the reality is there's these feelings that happen inside of us that if we were honest, probably have a lot of different feelings. And if we answered that question the way that we actually were feeling in that moment, it could be a wide range of things depending on when people catch us in the day. But I don't know about for you guys, but for me in those moments, there's something that makes me just default to, I'm good. How are you? Like I don't actually share what's happening. I don't actually say, you know what, I'm angry. Or I'm depressed or stressed, or you know what, I'm really proud, or I'm excited, or you know what, I feel betrayed, or abused, or alone. All these feelings that are so real, but for some reason in those moments, we don't want to actually say what they are.
I mean, even with our closest friends, my wife and I'll come home and I'd even default with her. Hey, babe, how was your day? Oh, it was good. How was yours? When actually it was a terrible day. But for some reason, I default into this like, oh, it was good. How was yours? I don't know about for you guys, but for me to go there, sometimes it's kind of hard. To answer the question actually honest, for me, is really hard. Because it's these things more often than not that I don't like about myself. Or that I don't necessarily want people to know. And so what I do, I just default to, as long as everybody thinks that I'm doing all right, then everything will be good. And the world tells me as long as everything looks good on the outside, it doesn't really matter what's happening on the inside or how I feel. And so what's crazy is I know this other lady that was kind of feeling the same thing, except for her, she had this really big problem. Hers was a lot bigger than mine. See, she was bleeding internally. I don't know if you know a whole lot about bleeding internally, but sometimes when you bleed internally, it's like a slow drip, like a faucet. To where it doesn't necessarily, it takes a long time to get there. You see, and where this lady lived, she really enjoyed her life. And everybody around her was really in good condition, and on the outside was in really great shape, and nothing seemed to be wrong. And where she lived, if they found out that she was bleeding internally, she lost all of her friends. They actually told her she couldn't live where she was living. It was just a slow drip. And so for a long time, she just was like, I'm just going to fake it. Nobody knows this. It doesn't matter. I'm going to pretend like this ain't that big a deal. You see, the account of this lady comes out of the book of Mark. And here's how this goes. We find this lady, she was in a huge crowd of people. And this huge group of people was following Jesus to do another incredible miracle that he was going to do. And I can just imagine, like, I don't know if I've ever felt this way, but I know for me, like growing up, when I knew there was just stuff going on, it was so easy for me to just hide in the crowd. Because I knew if I was among the crowd, the spotlight wasn't going to be on me. I can just imagine this lady, she probably had a hoodie, or maybe even her face was covered back in the day, and she saw this massive crowd. She just kind of stepped in and kind of went with it. Because she was like, as long as I'm with the crowd, then no one's going to notice. And it says, a large crowd followed and pressed around Jesus. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. What that means is that she was bleeding internally. It said she had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she got worse. See, part of the story is that it says for 12 years she was bleeding. The story doesn't tell us how long she was like hiding. We don't know if it was for a couple years or if it was for all 12 years and then she decided to get help. But at some point, she couldn't neglect what was happening inside of her because she was dying. And for 12 years, she couldn't try to mask it or hide it any longer. So what did she try to do? She said, well, I'll try to fix it. And it says that she went to doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor. She spent everything she had going, oh, well, it must be this. Oh, well, it must be this. This will be the thing that'll fix me. Oh, this doctor must know what's happening. And it says instead of getting better, she got worse. I can just imagine the feeling of her walking around, knowing all this stuff going on inside of her and terrified of anybody knowing. But she couldn't do anything about it. You see, in this story, I can relate. Because for me growing up, there was this aspect of I would do so many of these things because I wanted people to like me. So I'd do all these things, but I hated doing it. And the fact that, like, if people really knew what I was thinking or feeling on the inside, I hated it because I didn't feel like I could ever share it, or if I did, I would not be able to be a part of the crowds I wanted to be a part of, and the groups I wanted to hang out with. And it was this tug inside of me this whole time. And even though this lady's was a physical, internal struggle, I could probably say, if we were all honest, that her and I aren't the only ones that deal with the struggle. I got some statistics off of a website that talk about things that high school kids struggle with. And I'm going to share these, but I'm not going to share them from the aspect of any hoping that I don't want you to feel guilty or anything like that. I'm reading this from this reality. On this website it said 73% of students have purposely tried to make another person feel inferior. 70% of teenagers text their boyfriends and girlfriends more than they talk on the phone. It's easier to hide behind the screen. 46% of teenagers say that they have contemplated suicide. 73% of high school and college students know that someone is taking medication because of a mental health issue. 91% have had sex by the time they've graduated, and 20% of those have had sex with more than 4 people. 64% have turned to drinking on the weekends. 59% say that people do not know who they actually really are. 40% have contemplated suicide in their lifetime. Oh wait, those were different. Whoops. 39 people skip meals as a way of controlling their weight, and 30% turn to marijuana, and out of those, 7% use it every single day. I tell you these not for any guilt. I hope you don't feel guilt in any of these. I hope you hear this as I'm not the only one. Because the reality is these are here for a reason. You see, if these are here because there's those feelings inside that for some reason we don't want to go to. And so we try to suppress those feelings that are going on inside that really is just brokenness. And we try to, just like this lady, we try to fix them and going, hey, I think this is how it's going to get fixed. Hey, I'll be okay. Yeah. I know for me growing up is, man, I'd just be okay if I could get a girlfriend, if I could get out of Holiday, Texas, if I could be on every varsity sport and us go to state in every one of them, if I could make straight A's, and if my parents didn't actually know what I was doing, I'd be okay. Those are the things that I would use to suppress the things that were happening inside of me. Last week, Kat talked about how God told us in Jeremiah 29:11 that He said, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, the plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like most of us, we don't always feel that hope in that future. We don't always feel that prosper and is God really out to not harm me? We don't always feel that. In the Bible, this brokenness is called sin. But so many times we think that sin is all the things that I read on that list. Oh, well, that's sin. And I tell you that's not how the Bible defines it. The Bible defines it as we all like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquities of us all. What that means is I call this big sin. Big S, big I, big N. And that's basically saying, God, thanks, but no thanks. I know you created me for this life that you talk about, but actually, I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm going to actually try to figure this life out by myself. And it's us turning away from God and His design for us in our lives And it's us going and trying to figure this thing out by ourselves. And the struggle inside is us trying to figure out this life that we were meant to be created for on our own. And the little sins that we talked about are just the symptoms in which we try to fill in making us feel whole, making us feel that hope, making us feel that future. I kind of describe it like this. We take this volleyball. This volleyball was meant to play with. It was meant to be full. It was meant to hit over the net. This pump was meant to pump it up, to give it air anytime it deflated. And if you stick it in here, it's supposed to pump up, right? But for us, what we decided to do is we decided to just say, no thanks. We just decided to say, hey God, thanks for the pump, but actually, I'm good. I'm actually going to try to fill my ball up, my life, by myself. And no matter how much we try, we can try to put duct tape around it, all those symptoms that I read, or maybe for you there's something else. There's nothing, no matter how hard we try, for this ball to be used the way it was supposed to be used. Because the world puts pressure, and pressure. And what do we try to do? We try to fight against that pressure. Hey, you know what? I can do it. I can fill up my own ball. You know, if I just make good grades, if I just get out of Amarillo, if I just didn't have this family that I have. Hey, you know what? Maybe if I sleep with somebody, then it'll make me feel loved. Hey, you know what? Maybe if I do really good at sports. You know what? That's what will make me whole. If I can actually just make good grades. Hey, you know what? Screw this life. I don't even care. You know what? I'm gonna try something that makes me feel good. Because life's about feelings. And before you know it, my ball's not used the way it's supposed to be used. You can't bounce. There's nothing that you can do with the ball. Because it's not full. And no matter how hard we try, we can't fill up our own ball. And the problem is we can't stick the pump back to it because we've broken it. We said, hey, you know what, thanks, but no, I'm good. Because we chose to break it. The reality is, we're helpless. But again, I don't have to explain that to any of us. Because we feel it. We feel the brokenness between each other. We feel the brokenness between us and God. We feel the brokenness between even us and ourselves. I don't know if you guys, but for me, I don't like myself all the time. I don't like the things that I do that I'm like, why did I do that? See, in the story, here's how it ended. This lady here's what she said. Said she had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, but instead of getting better, she got worse. And when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. You see, there was this rallying point for her that she's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of trying to fix myself. I'm helpless. I can't do it. I don't know about for you guys. I don't know how you feel or how you're doing carrying all that stuff. The questions that I have tonight are, what are you doing Do you feel helpless when things are happening inside? How do you feel when you're not really being honest? What makes you feel like you have to hide things? I know for me, it was this fear of exposure. What if people really knew who I was? Or maybe the question is, what makes you feel like you need to hide? How are you hiding? And do you want help? Because the best part about, in a couple weeks, that we get to talk about, is just like this lady heard about Jesus, we get to hear about Jesus and how he could be the one to help. But before we can understand the answer, we have to acknowledge the problem. And the problem is us. The problem is we keep trying to fix ourselves, and it's not working. So for you, as you lay in bed tonight, as you leave here, and somebody asks you that question, how you doing? Or maybe somebody sends you that Snapchat that says, what are you doing? How are you going to answer? Or someone says, how are you doing? Or what's up? I would ask that maybe for the first time, maybe not exposing what you're thinking for real, unless you want to, but what would it look like to not hide? I'd encourage you, talk to a young life leader. Let them hear your story maybe for the first time. Maybe for the first time you're getting to actually let go of some things and go, man, it's just nice to have somebody else know about how I feel. Or maybe for you it's get involved in the campaigners. Maybe it's, hey, you know what, I just want to learn more about what this is all about. When I hear about Jesus, what does that mean? Maybe for you, in the quietness of your own room tonight, you can just simply say, Jesus, I'm tired. I'm tired of hiding. Help me. And if I know one thing about Jesus, he will bring you help. Because I know that's what your young life leaders are for. They're here because they want to help. Let me pray. God, help give us the courage to maybe for the first time enter into those feelings. God, I pray that you show us our brokenness for no other reason than just relief. Would show us that there's nothing that we can do to fix ourselves. And help us reach out to you. Amen.